I've been an iPhone user for a really long time. When the first iPhone released, I was right there in line until the person in front of me told me the price, which made me go over to Singular and pick up a Nokia flip phone. Before I continue, I have a quick question for you. Drop me a comment and let me know, what was your first iPhone? My first iPhone was the iPhone 4, and I think that's why I feel such a connection to the iPhone 12 series. The way it looks and feels is just really nostalgic to me. It reminds me of the time that I fell in love with Apple. You see, shortly after buying my first iPhone, I picked up the first iPad, which I paid way too much for. Several months later, I found myself buying a 13-inch MacBook Pro because I wanted that all Apple experience. It's safe to say I became a fanboy. Steve Jobs was just such a legend, and Jony Ive was the voice of Apple.
When you think about your iPhone, it's probably the object that you use most in your life. It's the product that you have with you all
So in a weird way, the iPhone 12 design is a reminder of all of those things, as well as my personal experiences during those times. The iPhone 12 Pro Max is the most popular iPhone 12 model based on units shipped. When I discovered this, I was surprised in many ways. The first being that despite the iPhone 12 Pro Max being the most expensive model, that didn't deter people from buying it. Let me add to this by saying the difference between the units sold is pretty large. It's over a 50% increase from the iPhone 12, which is the second highest shipped iPhone. Looking back over the past 2 years, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is by far the most popular iPhone model Apple has ever shipped to date. You might be wondering, why is this information important? Well, I had to rethink my current stance on the iPhone 12 Pro Max and reconsider my #1 complaint about this phone, which is the size. In my head, I imagined the iPhone 12 or 12 Pro becoming the most popular iPhone models based on two things: cost and size. However, that's not the case. Prior to picking up the iPhone 12 Pro Max, I was using the iPhone 12 Pro, and for me, it was the perfect size. Moving over to the 12 Pro Max was a big difference, and perhaps if I would have just went with the Pro Max initially, I wouldn't have had such a shock. The phone is big and heavy compared to other smartphones, but it is manageable overall. The ergonomics are not great, and the one-handed software optimization is pure garbage. But most people are using this device with two hands. The times that I found myself using this phone with one hand was specifically when scrolling or making on-screen selections. The latter has been my issue, since there's no way to move the information slightly over to the left or right to make one-hand usability and selections just a little bit easier. The best example I can give you of a one-handed mode done right is on Samsung flagships. Hopefully Apple will take these things into consideration and improve reachability as their phones continue to get bigger and bigger. While staying on the topic of size, I have to give credit where credit is due. Where many manufacturers had to increase the overall thickness of their phones in order to make room for 5G, Apple managed to once again make their phones thinner. You might not notice this in the hand due to the sharp corners and boxier design, but the iPhone 12 series is slimmer versus the iPhone 11 series. The matte glass on the backside looks and feels great, but personally, as much as I want to use my phone without a case, I just don't trust myself. Initially, I was using the silicone case from Apple, and while it's good, I found it to be a little bit too bulky on an already large phone. What I've been using as of late is from Kodabi, and it's called the Sheath. Kodabi is a channel sponsor, but more importantly, I've been using their products long before they agreed to support the channel. The Sheath is a thin style case that is very form-fitting. It's manufactured from Shocklite, which Kodabi designed specifically for their cases. Due to the soft gel-like flexible polymer, it retains excellent drop protection, being able to withstand tumbles of 2 meters or 6.5 feet. The case covers the power and volume buttons and has precise cutouts for the mute toggle switch, lightning port, bottom speaker, and microphone. The camera cutout is slightly raised, giving additional protection to the optics when laying the phone down on a table. Additionally, the front has a very slight raised lip for the same type of protection when laying the phone face down on a table. It's available in several colors and can be picked up directly from the Kodabi website, or to make things easier for you, I dropped a link in the description. Initially, I was rocking a tempered glass screen protector on my phone, which is smart, but I removed it, which is really stupid. The only reason I did it was for long-term testing, since Apple claims the new ceramic shield display should be more durable. It's really not though, at least for scratch resistance. Don't be fooled. Make sure you get yourself a screen protector if you're very picky about micro scratches. However, I still want to just see how bad it's going to get over the next year. Moving on to iOS, which has come a long way since the iPhone 4. Since picking up the iPhone 12 Pro Max, iOS 14.3 has been released, which brought several new features and enhancements. If you're interested in learning about some of these new features as well as a few tips and tricks, click the card at the top. In short, the experience is about what you would expect from Apple. It's snappy, it's responsive, and it's very familiar. Although Apple has been headed towards a slightly more advanced mobile OS by expanding and improving Siri shortcuts, they've started opening up their services more as well, like adding Apple TV capabilities to televisions from Samsung and LG. In addition to that, Apple is working together with Amazon, Google, and Zigbee to standardize smart home with chip, or connected home over IP. Apple stated they will open source portions of HomeKit to make things easier, which is something I never saw coming. Even though this isn't directly related to the iPhone 12 Pro Max or iOS for that matter, it shows the direction Apple was headed by opening up their walls a little to let some love in. The same thing can be said with iOS 14.3 and Siri shortcuts, since they allow for icon customization, assigning default apps, and other tweaks that were not possible without jailbreaking in the past. While it's still not quite as intuitive as Android when it comes to customization for the average person, iOS is becoming a very powerful platform for custom actions, routines, and automations. Plus, you get all of the optimization benefits that iPhones are known for. Apple has also expanded their fitness capabilities with the introduction of Fitness Plus inside of iOS 14.3. It's a subscription service that can be bundled with the Apple One plan for $30 a month and gives you Apple Music, TV Plus, Arcade, 2 terabytes of iCloud storage, Fitness Plus, and News Plus. The cool thing is, all of it can be shared with your family. Fitness Plus on the iPhone 12 Pro Max works fantastic. Being able to take classes anywhere at any time is awesome. There's a decent selection of workouts to choose from that will continue to grow over time. Thanks to the large bright display on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, seeing the content even outside is easily done. Just try to avoid direct sunlight, because once the iPhone gets to a certain internal temperature, the screen just automatically dims. Since we're on the subject of the display, let's talk about the content consumption experience overall. Obviously, the Face ID notch is there, and for some that might be a deal breaker, but I think for the majority, it's old news and something we've gotten completely used to. The display itself is also old news in some ways, which isn't a good thing. Despite the iPad Pro having promotion now for quite some time and the Apple Watch having an LTPO OLED display, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is still capped at 60 Hz. In my opinion, the two big reasons for doing this come down to cost and battery, since Apple decided to add 5G without raising the cost of the phone. In some ways, I understand. And since iOS is already really smooth, the lack of a higher refresh rate isn't a huge deal. On the other hand, no matter how smooth iOS seems to be, 60 Hz for gaming is nowhere near as good as 120 Hz. Regardless, the display is still great. It's very bright, it's viewable most of the time in direct sunlight, colors are very accurate, black levels are excellent, and true whites look awesome. Of course, it uses the DCI-P3 wide color gamut, so when combined with its Dolby Vision and HDR10+ support, you can watch HDR content the way it was intended. Viewing angles are best in class, and overall, it's one of the, if not the best display on a mobile phone. I just really wish it had that higher refresh rate. The speakers sound great, which is to be expected. I haven't noticed a huge difference compared to the iPhone 11 Pro Max, but that's not really a bad thing. Here's a quick example of how they sound.
Where are all the women? They're dead. What is she thinking? Where the hell is her noise?
There really isn't much to discuss when it comes to the iPhone 12 Pro Max's performance. It's fast, like really fast. And that should come at no surprise given that the A14 Bionic is a known beast of a processor. But for the non-techies out there, you can rest assured that the iPhone 12 Pro Max will easily last you the next few years. In fact, I can guarantee you that performance will not be an issue the entire time you own this phone. If anything forces you to upgrade, it's going to be the overall health of the battery and not the phone becoming sluggish over time. While we're on the subject, the battery on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is probably the biggest reason to pick it up over the iPhone 12 or 12 Pro. It can easily last longer than a day for a typical smartphone user. If you're a power user or someone that is always on their phone, it should be able to make it through a full day without needing to juice up. One of the notable new features on the iPhone 12 series is the redesigned MagSafe, which is more or less glorified wireless charging that uses magnets to hold the puck in place. It's a really cool concept, and I've grown to appreciate it, but it's not something I can't live without. Because of that magnetic connection, Apple has released a few accessories like the wallet attachment, which honestly just isn't my cup of tea, and the Duo charger that I absolutely love despite it being overpriced. I can't wait to see more third-party accessories take advantage of MagSafe and how they'll utilize that connection to expand their own platform. For example, Peak Design has their own mobile accessories now, and they're really expanding that platform, and they've stated that they're going to embrace MagSafe, which is pretty cool. The iPhone 12 Pro Max takes a pretty long time to charge, so don't expect it to compete with modern Android phones that have newer smart charging tech. It's just not gonna happen. This is a good thing and it's a bad thing. It does take much longer to charge, but it could possibly extend the life of your battery. Lastly, let's talk about the camera. iPhones are known to have an easy to use, consistent camera experience. The iPhone 12 Pro Max is no exception. In my opinion, it's the most well-rounded smartphone camera out there. For photos, I do prefer other phones like the Note 20 Ultra or occasionally the Pixel 5. However, the consistent experience I get from the iPhone 12 Pro Max is great, and it beats out those other devices. During the day, the iPhone 12 Pro Max can take great looking photos with plenty of dynamic range. The new scene detection works well, but at times can make colors look a little funky. If you missed my iPhone 12 Pro camera tips and tricks video, make sure to click the card at the top. I go into a little bit more detail regarding scene detection, HDR, and a few other features. As the light goes down, Deep Fusion will kick in for those in-between times, and it's been improved quite a bit. It takes advantage of the AI power of the A14 Bionic. The clarity and sharpness in images taken when Deep Fusion kicks in is crazy. It reminds me of pixel processing at times, and some people might be put off by it, but there's no denying just how sharp and clear some of these shots come out. Factor in night mode being available on all 3 rear cameras as well as in portrait mode now, you have a very well-rounded, balanced camera experience for nearly all scenarios. With iOS 14.3, Apple pushed ProRAW to the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which unlocks the full power of the camera. It's capable of capturing 12-bit DNG photos with 14 stops of dynamic range. Just like other RAW formats, it gives you flexibility in post to get the most out of your images. Even if you were to overexpose or underexpose an image, you should be able to bring back some of that information, if not all of it. Video-wise, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is, in my opinion, the most capable smartphone out there. The stabilization works great even if it's not a huge step up from the iPhone 12 Pro. Technically speaking, Apple could improve the way the sensor shift technology works through software, so we'll have to see if it gets better throughout the next year. The highlight feature of the iPhone 12 Pro Max is the ability to record 10-bit HDR video with Dolby Vision support. It does this in 4K up to 60 frames per second, and it looks really good. Just remember that if you're viewing it back on a non-HDR computer monitor or display that doesn't automatically convert the color space, it's going to look really weird and you're probably not going to like it. However, on the iPhone's display, it simply looks incredible. Low-light video has improved, although it's still not the greatest, but that's to be expected. These smartphone sensors are still pretty small for the most part. That said, with a little TLC in post and the use of third-party apps like Filmic Pro, you could take great looking low light video. Overall, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a stellar smartphone that can be recommended to nearly anyone since it provides one of the best, most consistent experiences across the board. You'll receive best-in-class software support with guaranteed firmware updates for upcoming years. When combined with the performance of the A14 Bionic, you have a phone that can easily get you through the next 3 to 4 years. The camera is excellent, and since Apple has invested so much into computational photography and processing, I'm expecting it to continue to get better over time. Like I said, it's a phone that can be easily recommended to anyone. But if you're already in the ecosystem, like with all other Apple products, you'll find it makes even more sense. As long as you can get over the price, size, and weight, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is an easy recommendation. If you want a great alternative, make sure to check out the iPhone 12 Pro. If you don't care for the telephoto camera or some of the other Pro-specific features, the iPhone 12 is also a great choice. I hope this video helped you. If it did, consider giving it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more videos just like this, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next one.